Report with Sam Seder. Talking to 20 Trump supporters. I'm sure everyone's seen the Jubilee thing going around. Anyway, let's watch him while he destroys everybody. I think Jubilee is generally not helpful, but this is good. Excuse me. What's going on here? Oh, fuck. What's going on here, though? What is going on here? They will not accept you. They will not accept you.
I mean,
Nervous.
I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA, right? You know that.
Right.
In government agencies. The A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum.
Yes, it is. What?
Right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being.
It literally does. They're literally repealing these things. Shut up.
Inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants
demonstrably
to
untrue.
incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases.
No.
Right.
Okay, but DEIA is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So it can mean, within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do internships in these agencies.
Right.
Or let's put out notices around different parts of town, metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
Right. This is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well, they literally do from a material standpoint when they get rid of these protections.
Then why rescind DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is
that you don't
there may not
understand
be
it.
like perceived actual number.
Why wouldn't you look it up? Why wouldn't you look up what DEIA does when you come into this thing on Jubilee? They didn't fucking Google a thing?
Quotas, but
conservatives are not curious.
That's what it devolves into, and especially with corporations.
Do you have the evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true, proper bases. We can even look at.
I mean,
give me evidence that's a claim.
Any evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president this year. There was no reason to nominate Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected. She wasn't. She didn't go through a single primary. None of these things.
So you're saying that Kamala was the vice president of the United States after the president drops out 2 months before the convention. You think that's a DEI?
She wasn't
hire?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that party,
Do you realize
except
there were
for
not
Kamala
even
Harris.
primaries prior to 1972
well, sure,
in the Democratic
but
Party?
This isn't before 1972.
Well, I understand, but what did you think you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well, sure,
I mean, Joe Biden should have dropped out
even
3 years ago.
Before, well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primaries, she didn't. She wasn't the next man up. None of this. She wasn't the next.
What's the argument? I guess it's that he doesn't have one, and so he's like, "Look, Kamala, DEI," and like it seems to be running into a wall where DEI is just racism.
Person she was the vice president.
Right, of course, but she wasn't in primaries.
Detail. But listen,
that tiny detail roasted.
Aside from, I would have might have wanted a different candidate as well. But that has nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. Yeah. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
Sure.
If you have,
that's what he rescinded, idiot.
Identify.
Sure, I'm for that. Then why are you cheering him getting rid of it?
You need to make it at least hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all about.
But you're cherry picking the portions of DEI that even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have issues with making workplaces.
The whole DEI apparatus within our government was a function of doing exactly what I said. Had nothing to do with quotas.
It is unfortunate that those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific numerical quotas.
What else was he trying to take out?
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs.
He's not even capable of listening.
getting pushed into
There is
positions
no
they have no
Hear the words.
qualifications.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
That's not true at all. I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't,
Give me one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you, but these are
How
the
would you
problems that
even-
conservatives...
I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility.
Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with this thing. I love when the conservative bros get up there and they immediately get flustered. They're uncomfortable. They don't know what the fuck they think anymore. They have a hard time even making ends meet when their thoughts are concerned. Like logical steps. It's crazy the dissonance you have to have this viewpoint. Like the propaganda is so effective on these people.
Like the people who might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused in practice. It was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have
Like what way though?
actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men, we're not gonna cast any white men, we only want this particular kind of gender, race, right?
The role wasn't for white men. Huh?
That is an abuse of a system. It's no longer fair, but more about just perpetuating one aspect of, visual compelling aspects. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse.
Okay, well,
and what that is it's moral grandstanding. It's saying because we have more black women, we sell better soda. Like that.
I got you.
That is not.
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's
Rainbow
DEI
capitalism?
orders are. But I can tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. Yeah. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid. I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people.
Are they listening at all?
The internship
Anybody?
is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people.
Yeah.
My kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about 2 different things. Because
you're not though. Like you are like diverting and changing the goalpost, like you're moving the goalpost, and talking about like fucking corporate rainbow capitalism at best.
Talking about Trump's DEIA rescission is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
you're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of the American people have kind of rejected DEI because again,
I don't think a majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is
clearly
we're talking about abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this, and liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of woke, and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is
woke, and DEI is all that's on their fucking brains, guys. That's all they hear. It's the same thing as the fucking Gamergate shit. It's the same thing over and over and over. They have some kind of fucking buzzword that they can use as a moniker for whatever fucking group they hate, and they can just say it over and over. DEI covers everybody, right? Diversity. His counter is, but white people so fragile, though. Did he? I don't even know. Liberals created woke, says the black guy. Yeah, I guess it's the libs.
As a black woman, and then all of a sudden Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And then we have this cognitive dissonance, as if we're not living in
cognitive dissonance. Yes, I agree, there is cognitive dissonance occurring
in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president. Without a doubt.
So why did Democrats move away from that and say no, it wasn't because she was a black woman?
I don't know
my point is
it's
that
not because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No.
That's true. Definitely.
And I don't believe that.
No, that's not what conservatives aren't saying, that there aren't, because again, even in the Republican Party right now and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and there's
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the fucking cabinet. What?
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color of her skin.
Listen, I'm not here to defend the Democrats' choice on every policy, but there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white.
Not having DEI initiatives begins to exclude, depending on you could say any group, okay? Any group that's in power could justifiably, without using any sort of specific words, they could, with impunity, essentially disregard or marginalize further a group that's already marginalized and disallow them from entry into the government, like trans people, like black people, like women, like gay people have been in the past. It's about limiting your access to power. That's all it's ever been.
Micro-level at McDonald's.
Am I
going to get better nuggets?
I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what it is. First of all, DEIA.
It's crazy that he thinks on this terms of meritocracy, and he obviously comes from a system where a generation ago, I think he would have more awareness of the negatives to having black skin in a white supremacist America. But since people like us have beaten it back for so long, and obviously the people that came before us mostly have beaten it back so much, man, it's crazy, because it's like, I'm glad that this guy has somehow had the privilege to grow up in a place where he doesn't feel like the racism thing is a big deal or whatever. That's great. I'm very happy that he doesn't feel that. I do not like that he feels compelled, due to the propaganda he's been consuming, probably from Charlie Kirk and the like, that he now has to push back against the initiatives that liberated him in the first place. That's pretty sick stuff.
Means that if you come into this agency or corporation, you're not going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else, or you don't have the same physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. Yeah. But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people it's supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
No. What? Name one.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
Yeah, there's nothing, bro. Name one.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else has a better can defend that point specifically.
I think that I'm going to tap out because I'm fucked. I'm fucking toasted. That's it for me. Yeah, I gotta go. Yep. Okay. That's what I thought.
When it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy to protect a person if we've moved past racism?
Because we haven't! Huh? What the fuck? You think the old white men in charge of the corporations who grew up in a time before the Civil Rights Act was even signed, you think that those guys have moved beyond their racism? I genuinely... I need queer people like this that are fully coping. I need you to realize that you're harming yourself. I need you to realize it. I don't see racism here in California. First of all, that'd be crazy to avoid racism in California. It's kind of nuts. But also, like, I guess maybe you live in like a super awesome progressive spot. Also, I think some people think that racism is like slavery. Like, sometimes I think people's threshold for what a racism is like basically slavery or slurs. Like hardcore, hard R, and you mean... Not only hard R, but you gotta mean it. That's racism, and then slavery is racism. Like, what the fuck? How come racism can't be they're not giving these people jobs or bank loans? Like, stuff that people need to live in this capitalist hellhole?
So would you consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So
I'm glad that you're saying that we're all complicit in the system of white supremacy. We're definitely all complicit in the system of white supremacy, and it's like, it's interesting. I don't know. I live in a city where white people are just barely the minority of folks. It doesn't really come up that much as far from my experience of it. Like, my race, of course, is not brought up very often. But I do definitely feel like some black folks feel like I need to be talked to like a white man sometimes, which is like, damn it, I got clocked as like probably just the whitest, right? Which sucks. Because it's like, Midwestern white guys are not known for their wokeness, let's call it. However, I'm quite woke, obviously. So, but it doesn't happen often. But it has happened before, where they, someone will put on there, "Oh, that's a white man. Better give him a voice." Definitely, multiple times. And I feel like I genuinely wish this, and I have since I think millennials have had this kind of conversation, maybe because a lot of us did service jobs, but it's sort of like customer voice, right? But like a little bit different. I really, truly wish to live in a world where customer service people didn't feel like they had to put on a voice, where we could just all have a talk, where you're just like, oh, you're here for stuff? We got stuff, and you can have it. And here's the exchange on how we do that. And that's the experience at a store or whatever. Like, I customer voice is so ridiculous, and it drives me, "Oh, hello, sir." Like, I'm some kind of fucking, there's such a hierarchy to it. There's such a class dynamic built into it from like the slave years. And it's not really a joke, but I mean, it's gross to me, and I don't like it. And I refuse to engage in it. I'm pretty cash around the service people. Professional phone voice yeah, I hate that shit. Not even code switching, like capitalism switching. It's not just code switch. So like we some people code switch depending on who they're talking. I mean, everyone kind of does it in a subliminal way, but you have shorthands with people that you are closer to or whatever. Anyway, beyond code switching, literally just customer voice. Like, how people talk to you when you're getting a service. Customer voice is not just white voice. No. Disagree. White people do not talk to each other in the same way they talk in customer voice. Disagree! It's more than that. It's another step. It's another step. You could definitely say that it's customer voice is another step of a different kind of white voice, which has to do with like the hierarchy in the past, but it's not white people's voices. They change too. Everyone does. It's not. It's totally different. It's a strange phenomenon. Anyway.
I guess going to the LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they
Construing it.
haven't demonized them. They simply want protections back for their own children, because children are being stripped away from
Who's
their
their
parents.
own children? Wait,
Parents.
children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB 954, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care?
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids,
If
of
a
course.
child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change.
Adults can't have consensual sex with kids. Kids can fucking, go crazy, high schoolers. Preferably not middle schoolers, although I did have some peers that, start early. But, let's not be so weird about sexuality all the time. Why is it about sexuality? This isn't about sexuality. Fuck off. They always make it a sex thing with trans people. It's not. It's a fucking identity thing. It's an expression thing. It's a First Amendment issue. Every time. 100% of the time. It has nothing to do with anything else. Nobody's medical shit has anything to do with a school unless the school needs to be made aware of for some kind of accommodation purposes. The school's business is not the kids' medical care. Okay? The school's business is the kids' education and providing a safe place for kids to learn. That's fucking it. Okay? Anything else can shut the fuck up. Kids expressing themselves can be referred to as any name that they are comfortable with. If you say, like, for instance, my legal name is, Jacob. Everyone knows this. People say it sometimes in chat. Jacob! And all my life, most people who know me call me Jake. This is a preference. People just do it. This is gender affirming in a lot of ways, I guess, because if they called me something other than that, it would be like not the full me, right? I'm Jake. I'm not really Jacob at all. Like, that's my fucking government name at best. I genuinely do not identify that way. And that's like just because people use my nickname a lot. You know what I mean? Nobody, even my mom at best calls me Jakey if she's not using other nicknames she has for me, a million of them. How can you make the argument that a trans kid can't make their name whatever the fuck they want, anything, but I can change my name to Jake? Oh, well, that's just a nickname. I mean, so can anything else. Anything can be a nickname. I don't fucking care. Like, I don't understand the distinction. I don't understand the mental loopholes. And then they have to move on to something. Well, you're forcing the kid to be trans. It's about medicine or something. Like, no, it has nothing to do with you or the school. It has to do with the parent, the child, and the doctor. And frankly, no children are getting fucking surgeries. At best, you're talking about stopping puberty or diverting it into another direction, depending on who the kid is. And you're not talking about that until they're like 13-ish. And then you've had years to prep on this and think about it and talk about it. And I mean, no one is doing this lightly. No fucking doctor is like, yes, hormone replacement therapy. We're just going to. I would like to chop the dicks off of the youngest possible humans so I can make my. What do they think? Like a fucking human centipede madman is in the background. I guess their basis for what a good doctor is fucking RFK Jr. So, I mean, you could imagine if your baseline for good is RFK and his ratatouille brain worm, like he's getting piloted around by the worm, that's your baseline for good. So, of course, they think cartoonish evil when it's bad because they've been brainwashed, these fucking people.
Now, in
Well,
terms of a
I don't know that
DEI
they can,
initiative, the reason why there's military bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different mood stabilizer pills.
Depression and mood stabilizers? Trans people don't need those things unless they're going through bad things. People get depression and mood stabilizing pills when they have clinical depression. I mean, typically you don't have clinical depression if you have been in a healthy space. Like, I'm sure that I guess maybe some people could be predisposed for the condition or whatever, but the studies seem to suggest that your environment gives you your anxieties and mental fuck ups. I mean, it's pretty obvious that if you have like a fucking nice, kind space, you're more likely to be a nice and kind person rather than an anxious one if you live in an anxious space. You know what I'm saying? Like, so while we're all fucked up by our upbringing in some way, we can all identify. I mean, this is ridiculous shit, man. Also, cis people take antidepressants. Right. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're fucking trans. Cis people make up the bulk of the people, even per capita. Like, you could say all trans people versus all fucking non-trans people. I would be shocked to find out that the distribution of antidepressants wasn't pretty much similar.
And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring an ice cooler pack with your whether that be hormone, estrogen, or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing war?
Well, the executive orders
The opposing war.
that Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do.
What? What do you mean, yes, they do? I don't even understand that. I don't even understand the
Yes,
brain.
they absolutely do.
The FDA.
What?
They just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What are we talking about here?
Okay, well,
Honestly, like they're rewriting history.
well, that's your perspective, right?
What do you mean that's your perspective? What do you say when you can't teach history? What? We can't teach that the Tuskegee Airmen existed? We have a thing in my city about that.
But at the end of the day, if a person
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed, right?
Just listen to this. If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if
What?
you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides tax cuts. For the end of the year, when you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color. I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
The federal agencies don't get tax returns. What? No. So this is why you guys were saying that earlier? God damn it.
Agencies and private
In government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people
And
of
the other
color.
thing I wanted
This is
to,
to
and I,
protect
the other
people
thing I
from
want to
discrimination.
the other thing I want to kind of state here
What?
is that
No,
I've
don't move
realized that
on.
a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of
I genuinely, this is totally, I mean, I wish I could report otherwise. If you're Republican, the likelihood that you're fucking stupid is so high. Genuinely. At this point, they've just captured idiots. I'm not kidding. It's been years since I've had conversations with intelligent right-wingers. The most intelligent right-wingers are all evil at this point. There's no smart Republicans whatsoever. They're all brain dead.
Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on
DEIA does not is not
it's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color, physical
it
attributes.
says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different...
But that's irrelevant to a job, right?
It's irrelevant to a job? It's not. It's not irrelevant to a job. To make sure that we're not discriminating against people. It's so relevant.
It should be based on merit. And that is the emphasis
People
here.
get hired as a merit, but if the
Not
DEI,
if you get a
if
tax
the DEIA, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of
If
these
you
orders
received a
on
tax
these
cut as
agencies.
an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
If you could pay them less?
listen, we're
Listen. Fuck.
talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. Government agencies,
They don't.
Government agencies.
no,
Yes,
these
they
are,
do. They absolutely do.
I looked around for a hammer to smash my own face with and don't have one, luckily. No, they fucking don't. They're the government. They're funded by taxes. What the fuck? No, they don't. Oh my God. What a fucking clown. This person, do they have social media and have they deleted their account? Have they just fucking fully deleted everything because they're getting destroyed on the internet? There must be. There's just no way. Because I've seen this face on the internet from this clip. This is insane. You must reconsider your position after being so thoroughly destroyed.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not true.
That is not true. Yeah, it is. That's just what the fuck it is.
That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that.
Genuinely the dumbest motherfucker that could possibly be here. Do not join again.
I want a little bit more clarification because I don't even know if we got it yet on which part benefits corporations, like from your perspective.
So agencies, the U.S. government agencies, the vast majority of them, what they function to do is inhibit corporations from essentially externalizing their costs onto society.
Sure.
So the example would be, I used it before, but it's a good one. I'm making Teflon, C8, for instance, okay? And C8 is supposed to be burned because instead of deposited, because it's a forever chemical. And I can go out and instead of burning it, it's too expensive to burn it, I'm going to dump it into a river. And the EPA comes in and says, you can't do that. We're going to fine you. You're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
But what the company is doing when they do that is they're going to take the profits that come
Run out of time.
with lowering their costs by dumping it into the river. And those costs are then borne by everybody who lives around that river. They're going to get cancer. They're going to get gastrointestinal problems, whatever it is. And society bears the cost of that.
Can you connect the dots for me, though? Because it sounds like we're talking about something completely different.
Can you connect the dots to what?
So the DEIA stuff is just the beginning of demoralizing these agencies and trying to wreck them from the inside. It's all part of Russell Vought's thing, the OMB, the whole Schedule F, where they get rid of civil servants and they demoralize people and they don't want them to be able to function.
So then would you agree if this is about demoralizing? I mean, over 75 million people voted for Trump, right? He won the popular vote. Do you not think that in part, you even said yourself that Americans don't really know what DEIA is, according to your definition of it?
You don't, clearly, because you listen to the propaganda from the right, because you're misinformed. When we take power back, and someday we will, we need to make laws against propaganda. If you do not have facts to back up your claims, and you make a profit, or you are a politician, we need to get rid of that. You need to be fined or whatever. It's so fucking bad. It needs to be, there is just absolutely no way to move on from this with allowing them to just, they do not give a fuck about free speech. It's obvious. Because they don't want you to be able to have trans rights, which is a freedom of speech and expression issue, obviously. And so if they don't want that, which is a personal issue, then they cannot lie. We can absolutely go after that part of free speech then, because it's much lesser. And we ought to, just ethically speaking. We shouldn't allow people to profit from lies. We shouldn't allow shysters and fucking grifters to be able to lie to people and make money or get ahead in society at all. And that's what we do allow.
What do you think you're going to get out of the Trump administration?
Economic relief. That's
Economic relief. Oh, buddy. Can we follow up with this guy? Can we continue to follow up? Fell for it again. Any day now, it's coming. That relief is coming. I swear Trump is going to work for us this time.
That was
what kind of economic relief? They're going to cut Social Security. You're going to have to pay for your parents. They're going to cut when they go after the agencies like they're going after, right? This is outlined in Project 2025. Russ Vought, who's going to be the OMB head, he was the OMB head the first time around. He wrote all the book on this stuff.
Okay, well, you bring up Project 2025.
When you cut agencies and go after them, and you fire all the inspector generals so that they're not being able to make sure that the agencies are working, who do you think profits from that? It's corporations. They're going to go after agencies that make sure.
Elon Musk called Social Security a Ponzi scheme today or yesterday.
So the way it's important in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. So that
entitlements, Social Security, Medicaid, etc. a week ago or so, yeah. This is the man, and this is not a joke. He is one of the number one individual recipients of federal funding on the planet. Like just him alone, not a corporation, not a group of people.
That's like the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year.
Yeah, the big one to eliminate is the Social Security and Medicaid.
That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here.
Paying them to come here, yes. Anyway, calls it a Ponzi scheme and is clearly going after it. I mean, they're going to take it out. I don't know. Every single boomer that loses their Social Security, I want each and every one of you to be relentless towards, okay? They need to know that they fucked up, and they need to know that it's their problem, and they need to know that you've been right this whole time. And you need to continue to do it. Burn every fucking bridge, make them block you. It doesn't matter. They need to know. They need to feel it. They need to feel the weight of their decision making and their lack of it.
Your food is not full of botulism, that your air is not full of mercury, that your water is not full of C8. This is what they're going to do. Agencies exist to curb corporations from externalizing their costs and privatizing their profits.
Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew.
Yes.
I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's
Disagree. It's bad.
wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference. So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist? Utilitarian?
Dude, I love the kind of aggressive Christian bro like this that comes in, having had many conversations with guys like this. And like, what are you, a fucking utilitarian? And it's like, fucking no, man. I'm a human being, and we should ensure that we have life, liberty, and happiness, man.
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And
communally beneficial.
Some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
morally right under your
not
view.
morally right. No. I'm not
Okay.
talking about morals.
Okay,
here.
so here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off
I
of.
believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates. You have a
Fucking reproductive birth rates. The fuck? Why are you worried about coming?
reproductive dead end. So two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple.
To take from a healthy straight couple? The healthy straight couple that put their child up for adoption? That's not usually what's going on. Relax, buddy.
Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society has decided.
Should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults,
Right.
it's a different thing than.
Okay,
than
so you're okay
preying
with
on
a
children.
45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest.
No,
If they consent, you're okay with that?
no, I think society has also determined that it's like it's not beneficial.
Right, there's
for-
duties and obligations that we have, so religion provides those duties. Life isn't about
Well, but
freedom
also
and
I can-
exercising what you want.
Life is actually about freedom and exercising what you want. And by the way, this guy sounds like he's really struggling with not fucking kids or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, I've never had this fucking struggle. What in the shit is happening?
I mean, well, you want to impose your religious doctrine
No,
on me,
because
and I don't want that.
you just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide
The
anything
liberal view? Don't call me a fucking liberal.
besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument as to why I don't want
You have no
your
contention.
religion to? Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions. And so my argument is, like you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the
Yes.
idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no. And
If I do, I have no issue with that. No, I explicitly have an issue with it. That's what I just fucking said.
this is why I say, under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of
and
Christian.
female. You're right.
You have a
You
Christian
won.
nationalist,
Yes,
and
which is necessary.
And so I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage
Yes.
under this.
Sorry, we're going to
And
have
so
more
I'm-
kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more families.
Fewer abortions.
We're going to have stable family households. Sorry about better
Trans
education.
people, gay people should be outlawed.
should be straight. They should be straight.
Women should be secondary to their husbands.
Women should submit
right?
to the husbands.
Women
That doesn't
should
mean they-
submit to
that
the
doesn't mean they are
husbands.
slaves.
Right,
It doesn't mean they are
I
slaves. It means
understand.
they are
I
protected.
understand. You
Okay,
got a
let me ask you
hierarchy.
then. Let me ask you.
No.
Should
I
women
want
be
you-
drafted?
listen,
Should women be
listen,
drafted?
Listen,
Dude, he gets so upset. I would love to talk to this fucking loser, though. Does this guy have a social media? I'll talk to this dumbass. This guy's a fucking idiot. I'll have him groveling on the... He'll rage quit from my ass quick.
I think
If they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think this is the vision that you have, and I think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, they have a theocracy there, and that
Does Iran sound like a good place?
and apparently that's good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever
But
we
I
see,
don't wanna live in a
My final point is
theocracy.
whenever we see people live out Christian values to its full extent, we
They get divorced and die lonely and estranged from their kids. usually in cloisters of abusive men. Can we agree that the way that they choose people to be in the fucking circle sucks? Like, what the fuck? It's just the same fucking people over and over. I hate this shit. Does every 20 people fucking get in here? Or is it just the same fucking few people? I think it's crazy how they're all fucking Christians, dude. Isn't that crazy? It's almost like I'm fucking right.
You have an ideology that you vote upon because you view it to be the truth that benefits everyone in a society. That's how a democracy works. I, as a Christian, have an ideology that informs my opinions, and I believe that it is the most moral and correct way for a society to function. So I think if...
Yeah, I don't. I think you're all disgusting. I think if you're a Christian, you're a disgusting person. That's where I'm at.
If we put religious...
Frankly. Like, I genuinely am disgusted with your religion and would love to chat about why it is so. Also, Christian nationalists don't want a thriving country or world. They want to start the rapture. That's why I support going in on Gaza. Oh, yeah.
Fundamentalism in a box where you say any moral implications that I draw from this, religion.
Sam just keeps looking more and more correct.
Is unable to be voted upon, unable to be pushed onto you because simply it's a religion is unfair to view it that way. Religion is an ideology like all ideologies are. It's you vote away.
I don't mind you. I don't dispute the idea that you could have a religious ideology and want to see it imposed upon others, and it's not inconsistent with my claim.
I think it's unfair as well to label any morals that comes from religion inherently immediately theocratic. Like,
if you're trying to say that we draw upon this theocratic knowledge base for our government, then that is textbook theocratic. That's what it is. Like, he's going to bring up thou shalt not kill, which is not a law, by the way. We have laws, we have secular laws that allow for some kinds of killing, obviously.
Having a theocracy is something different than having...
I think love thy neighbor is a good precept, and I don't know that we should necessarily legislate it, but I think it's a good precept. Cool. I think there are things from religion that are good. Yeah. I interviewed Desmond Tutu years ago, who said that religion can be... is like a knife. It can be used to spread butter or it could be used to stab people. Sure. But that doesn't mean that I want religious doctrine to be the same as the law of the land. We have a democracy, and it was founded on trying to get out from some type of like religious oppression, which means one religion shouldn't dominate in this country. That's my sense.
Yeah, and I see that, but I think I have an issue with where you would perceive religious doctrine is derived from, right? A guy doesn't, at least in Christianity, a guy doesn't go in a room and come out and say that he has a secret message from God that...
He literally the 10 Commandments are literally that. He goes alone to a mountain and does that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Everyone now has to follow. Religious doctrine is ruled over, it's reasoned over, the same way any ideology is discovered.
I'm not talking about the validity of religious doctrine. Right. I'm talking about religious doctrine supplanting democracy in civil society.
And I'm saying that religious doctrine is democratic inherently.
No, it's not.
And in the way that you...
Well, earlier... I mean, look, we can have a debate as to whether or not women should be subservient to men. I don't think they should be. Right. And in a democracy, I don't think it's healthy.
Right. But when you said earlier with him that someone shouldn't have I don't know the exact word, like a chokehold on what is... religious truth and what isn't religious truth. That's not how religious truth itself works, and that's not how religious truth is brought to the...
Religious truth is crazy to say, because when you ask, okay, what is a religious truth? They say an opinion.
Political table to have that work either, right?
I don't know. When Pete Hegseth is in a bar yelling, we're going to kill all Muslims.
Well, that's, yeah.
But now he's in charge of the largest military in the history of the world.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Doesn't fucking matter to this guy.
Okay, so...
Oh my fucking God, you're back? All right, you should tap the fuck out.
Eleazar mentioned his views on gay marriage.
Are you two fucking?
And I saw that you believe that essentially conservatives don't believe that gay marriage should be allowed. I want to ask everybody in this room, is there any law or legislation that Donald Trump has passed to prohibit same-sex marriage in the last 4 years? Okay. Is there anyone in here who would potentially oppose two people kissing in public that are of the same sex?
Uh-oh.
You could raise your hand if you want. Yes, in public. Kissing in public. No law against it. Just your own opinion. Okay, so these are all people's opinions, right?
These are all people's opinions that should there be a law against kissing in public for same-sex couples. Look at yourself. What a cuck.
If I was gay or something.
No, not gay. I'm not gay.
The same way you have your opinions about Christians is the same way these people are
No,
allowed.
I don't have a problem with Christians.
Well,
I fucking do. I have a problem with Christians. I'd be happy to discuss it.
you do not believe that theology should be at its
We should not have a theocracy.
correct. And so what I'm saying is, I think that Christianity. I'm a Catholic. I think that Christianity is.
Uh-oh. You're a Catholic? Well, that's... Watch out for somebody in the crowd thinking that Catholicism isn't a real Christianity.
I think fundamentally very important to instill family values in myself as well as every person who wants to have children.
This person, I'm not joking, looks exactly like, with a different haircut, almost exactly like one of the people that I used to work with that was super Christian and went to the megachurch down the way and came out to us as gay and left the church and shit. Looks almost exactly the same. Not the same person, but this is every Southern gay in denial. It's sad, man.
Now let's talk about.
I'm okay with that too.
Let's talk about Order 14,166. That is an executive order that Donald Trump just imposed on identifying what is male and female. So I personally believe, as well as many transsexuals, friends of mine, believe that a woman is a biological female, as well as a man being a biological male. You are assigned what you are at birth.
Sure, friends, yeah.
You are not assigned your gender later on. What you choose to express is something that is similar to wearing a garment, similar to what you decide to put on your face. And I don't think there should be laws or legislations dictating people or imposing laws to manipulate children, for example, to castrate their bodies at such a young age.
Castrate their bodies? No one is getting sex change surgeries as a baby child. Stop. They should not be able to fucking lie about this on the news and in fucking political office. They lead people astray. This should be illegal. This should be, if you're a politician caught lying about this shit, I genuinely believe you should be immediately excused from office and investigated for all of your ties. It is suspicious behavior to try to drive a wedge between other citizens with such stupid shit. This is First Amendment.
There 50% of children.
Do you know how many children are treated over the past 5 years? Let's say, I think it was from 2018 to 22, there was a study that just came out from Harvard. Do you know how many children received gender-affirming care, but broken down into puberty blockers and then hormones?
Give me the numbers.
You tell me. I'm curious.
Well, I'm curious because you're bringing it up.
No, I have the numbers.
Okay, tell me.
I do, but I'm curious if you know.
Tell me what the numbers
are. I promise to tell you after you tell me what you think it is.
I'm not gonna play that game.
Because I have a feeling
we're not playing this game.
No, I am playing this game because.
No, I am playing this game. Thank you. Oh, he's getting a little mad. I love this.
I think you think it's much higher. When you tell me that kids are being castrated, I know you don't really know what these numbers are. And I do know these numbers.
Okay, well, I can tell you this much.
What?
It was reported that scientifically every single child who has received gender-affirming care, about roughly 50% of them regret it.
There's no study that shows that? There's none. In fact, it has higher success rates reported from trans people who have transitioned medically or otherwise. 99%. I mean, it's higher than any other fucking medical procedure. Any of them.
And 50% of them are suicidal because.
Fact check. Studies in this subject often suffer from researcher bias and the methodological errors. Oh my God. Fucking look at Jubilee. No, this is conclusive.
Of it. They're actually more depressed because of it.
How many of those kids? How many?
A psychologist,
How
by the
many
way.
over the course of 5 years?
Well, tell me.
You tell me.
Tell me.
Just give me
I know
a
what you're trying to
ballpark.
do. You're trying to put me in this chokehold of like,
No, I'm
I
not trying to
gotcha
put you in a
moment.
No, this is definitely a gotcha
No.
moment because I'm suggesting to you that you think this problem is much bigger than
It is a huge problem.
Okay.
Medi-Cal, you know, Medi-Cal covers inmate trans women.
I understand that, yes. And I know
medical coverage.
one person has had that surgery.
I don't
ever.
understand how my
But-
taxes
okay.
should go for an inmate
Okay,
prisoner
if
who
you
wants
have
to try.
An inmate prisoner. We found the Blair White fan.
Trump how is he hurting these people? He just rescinded the ability of the Labor Bureau to investigate discrimination in workplace. Are you for trans people being discriminated in workplace?
They're never being discriminated.
Are
Hold on.
you for trans
You're
people
asking-
being discriminated with
I'm
housing?
very passionate about that question, and can I answer it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I believe that affirmative action should.
It's not affirmative action.
Oh, then what is it?
It's anti-discrimination. It's
Okay,
not saying that you have to
regardless-
hire
hold on.
trans people.
Okay,
It's
well,
saying
hold on.
you can't fire someone when you find out they're trans.
Okay, well, hold on a minute. So when you hire someone or when you interview someone, for example, you
don't know shit, man. Like, can you stop fucking running to the chair? This is the last time this person shows up, right? This motherfucker was the most annoying person on the panel, and that's saying something. This is so stupid. Like, get the fuck out of here. More people raise your flags.
are supposed to interview them based on their knowledge and their work ethic, not based on sex.
I'm not saying affirmative
not based
action.
on their sexual
Are you
orientation.
allowed to fire them if you find out they're trans?
If you need
Do you-
to, if you need to, then you should.
if you need to,
you
what?
then
All
you
right, well,
should.
so we have a disagreement. I don't believe people should be discriminated against.
I actually think that this liberal world order needs to be thrown away completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative.
We could drop a rope from the ceiling.
What we're seeing right now is
And
just
congratulations.
yeah, and thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a culture of death. This is the most suicidal generation ever. We have millions of children dying by abortion. People aren't even reproducing. We don't even have like a.
Should we mandate people reproduce?
No, I don't think we need to mandate. We can just stop them from killing their kids. There
So
are like.
you want to outlaw abortion?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, we have a fundamental disagreement on this, and my claim was that if you
I hope she needs an abortion and can't get one.
voted for Trump, it would be to your benefit if you want to outlaw
Medically necessary abortion, which can't get one in time.
I think it would
abortion.
benefit. I think it would benefit everyone.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that that women should have the right to choose.
I think that it would benefit everyone to bring back the family unit, to stop having women just thrown into the workforce.
Maybe we shouldn't allow women to choose to divorce unless their husbands say it's okay.
I mean, I don't really believe in divorce in general, so like, sure.
All right. I mean, this I think though reinforces my point that that if you are
He's just correct.
It would be better for society. It
Christian
would be better for
theocrat, then
everybody
you
in
would be
society.
happy.
And same with xenophobic national. Like, what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
What?
To
Like
be
xenoph-
xenophobic,
Yes.
Oh, dude.
nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture.
She just
Everyone
plays
should be part of the
facepalm,
same
dude.
culture. We should
What
have
is wrong with
assimilation.
Salami?
Shaking her head, no! They are the baddies, yeah.
Which do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture
What is the
based
dominant
on
culture?
European and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White
It's
Christian-
rooted in European identity.
White. So your argument is that
That has been the
it's-
dominant culture.
Just to be
and
clear,
we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you
Your-
should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity
Right,
and
so it's white
Christian
nationalist.
values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity
For
of
the
America.
majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well,
Dude,
actually.
she's shaking? What the fuck?
No, I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah, maybe since like the 1960s. Even
What? No, since the fucking beginning.
then, like even we had this idea of a melting pot literally means assimilation too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what
No, not the dominant culture. It means everyone moves together into one culture.
melting means?
No, it doesn't
and
mean
now
that
instead
you're
we're saying
assimilating.
there's something
That's not how melting works.
wrong with
If you put a bunch of chocolate and then only a little bit of vanilla in it, it's still both.
xenophobia.
Dominant culture.
Color changes, bro.
No. I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. Like, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice. And people, I think what you're expressing, though, is
Racism.
really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's
I mean,
problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's like anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Like Trump's basically a Democrat from like 15 years ago when it comes to social
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's trying to import a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah.
She is a disgusting racist, yes.
My next claim is the GOP will destroy Social Security and health care.
Cool. One of the guys closest to the chair again? That's crazy, Jubilee. How about we fucking show of hands and then you just like randomly roll for it or something? Hey, who wants to talk about this?
So, what if Social Security should go away? That's my question to you.
What if it's a good thing that elderly people will be forced into poverty? Yeah, what if it's a good thing?
Because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. And not only does it keep our elderly out of poverty, it's essentially a social insurance program that protects you if at the end of your life you don't have enough money to survive.
For
And
right
so-
now, do you know that it's also the albatross around our generation's neck?
No, it isn't.
Okay, so
Let me just explain this.
Well, you're
Let me
going to
explain
go
this to you.
back to lecturing
No,
me about Social
because-
Security.
Well,
we don't
that's
have.
what we're talking
we
about.
are-
Social
yeah,
Security.
Social Security is one of the top 3
You're going to lecture me about it.
funded.
Social Security is almost the biggest thing that our government does.
Exactly, and we are
it
more than
keeps
$30 trillion in debt.
2/3 of our, well, first of all, Social Security cannot contribute legally to the deficit.
Because they don't even account it in the federal deficit
That's
every year.
correct.
We have
because
30
it's
years. We're
self-funding. When Social Security started in 1936, you have more workers than retirees because people haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during that time, so the amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security, like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why the trust fund is running out is because wealth inequality has hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's
I want to show that stat again.
Wealth inequality.
In 1940, the ratio of covered workers to covered retirees was 159 to 1. Since 2010, the ratio has been below 3 to 1. Insane! That's a number of people paying in versus recipients.
Quality has hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's because
So
the
if you-
government does a
no,
terrible job managing their money?
no,
They have a huge
not at
spending
all.
problem, and they go, oh,
No,
look at all this money
they
we have
knew
for
this in
Social Security
1983,
that's earmarked for
40
60 years from now
ago.
that we're just going to spend on something
40
right
years
now.
ago, they predicted this. This is an actuarial table. Accountants sit there and look at it. This is a very easy math problem.
Accountants in the
If you-
government are always right?
He doesn't know how this works, and so he's trying to wriggle away.
That's totally the thing that you're saying? That they're always correct about money, right? That's why we have a $40 trillion debt problem.
The problem isn't the math with the 40 trillion debt problem. It's the you have tax
It's the
cuts and you
spending
spend-
problem. I totally
Yes.
agree with you, which
Social
I would argue is
Security-
part of why Social Security's gone in the hole already.
That's simply not true.
Oh, okay. So we're out of money from
If
the
the
Social
trust-
Security bucket.
No. Statutorily, by that I mean by law, Social Security pays for itself. If we do nothing, the 6.2% that your employer and your employee pays into it will pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2033.
And why is
But
it
if
going
we
down?
raise
If
the
everything's
cap-
so much better, why
if
is it
we
only
raise the
78%?
cap- If we raise the cap, there's a cap right now at $176,000.
Employers and employees each pay 6.2% a year on up to $176 in income. Self-employed workers pay 12.4%.
So, for instance, if you make $100,000, you pay $6,200 into that.
A year,
But
yeah.
A year. But if you make $4 million, do you know how much money you pay into Social Security?
Less than that.
$6,200.
And so why should wealthy people hang on? Why should wealthy people pay a higher percentage?
No, they
No. What? They pay a lower percentage.
should pay the same percentage. 6.2 on $400,000, 6.2 on $1 million.
And why should they pay even more money at all?
Because
they make more money? Again, you fundamentally have this idea
progressive
that because
taxation.
you have an idea that because somebody makes more money, that's fundamentally wrong,
No, what?
right?
No, I don't think it's fundamentally wrong. I think that they should pay more taxes into it. Now, I do think as a society, we should not allow billionaires. So, for instance,
they can pay more taxes
do you know
generally,
what
but why should
the
they?
highest tax rate
hang on.
and the greatest expansion of our economy
Hang on,
in this
does a
country?
billionaire get more money from Social Security if they went to go take it than I would?
No,
of course
it's
not. So why
insurance.
should they pay more?
I'll tell you why. Because if you
You're going to tell me your opinion.
It is a social insurance program that keeps you from being in poverty when you're a senior. And the reason why I think billionaires should pay more taxes than other people, even a higher percentage, is because it works better for society. The greatest expansion we've had in this country in terms of economics and the least amount of wealth disparity was in the 40s and 50s and 60s in this country. Do you know what the top marginal rate was?
It was high.
Do you know what it
I don't
was?
know the exact number, but
If you made over $470,000 in 1955, every dollar you would make above that was taxed at 90%.
So I have a question.
90 cents on every dollar was taxed above 470. So if we had in today's dollars,
which is wild, by the way. But
and it's also the greatest expansion we had of the economy.
Yeah, you can expand for a time, and then you see places. You see like Nordic countries that were like, oh, let's tax the hell out of our rich people, right? And then they go, whoops, we messed up. We can't actually live off of our terrible. We basically are able to live off our economic boom that they had between like the 40s and the 90s, and then we have to revert all of that because we made a terrible choice and we were able to have a party for 50 years until we realized we ran through all the money that capitalism got us. So let me ask you real quick. So the average person, right? Right now they fundamentally look at Social Security, young people like me, and they go, I'm going to have that money sitting, waiting for me when I retire.
What? No. Social Security is not an account you pay into. Social Security is given to current retirees. What you pay right now goes to your mom. You do not. It's not an account that accrues over time. They don't go, yes, this citizen it's time for you, sir.
Since your opinion is whatever works best for the average person is better, wouldn't you rather shift towards something that I would agree with, which is getting people that are 19, 20 years old into funding their own retirement rather than relying on other people to fund it for them?
You're talking like the 401k.
Sure. Well, not just the 401k, but IRAs, any other type of retirement. Would you agree? Would we agree with that?
Social Security was set up as part of a three-legged stool where back in the day when I was a kid, we had defined benefit pensions, where you'd know how much money you would get out. Yeah. That all shifted in the 80s to defined contribution, where you know how much you put in. The 401k started during that Reagan era. It has been a disaster.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter, for better or for worse, people just don't save in the way that you're talking about.
Why?
It would be nice if they could.
What do you mean, why? Why is poverty a thing? Corporations is the answer.
Because things are.
If the government were changing the mindset and actually pushing that cultural shift towards, we're not just going to hand you money when you're 65. You have to plan for it right now.
We've had a 40-year experiment with the government affecting the cultural mindset, and it failed.
We've had a 40-year experiment of everybody. You know what my parents say?
Do you
know what my parents say? I don't know, kid. What?
Grandparents say? They go, well, I'm just waiting for my Social Security check to come in, rather than I have $800,000 waiting for me because I thought about it when I was 19 and 20 because I didn't have this grab bag of money waiting for me. You're assuming that young people.
I try and tell my kids.
So we agree. We should get rid of Social Security and phase it out. Well, no. So we should phase out. How would you listen to this idea?
Listen to my idea. What if we fuck everybody? Everybody that doesn't have coins, okay? Everybody, okay? Human experience boiled down, collecting coins, okay? Everybody, You guys start collecting your coin. If you don't collect a coin, you don't get to do nothing else with your life. If you're not collecting coins, you're wasting time. That way, at the end of your life, you got coins to have. You know? Listen to yourself. Is this all you want about life? What's wrong with these people?
You phase out Social Security to where people who have 5 years left before they retire get 100% of the benefits. And then people like...
Yeah, I just want to work my whole life forever. I want to die in a corporation. Please, Jeff Bezos, let me die on the floor of an Amazon warehouse. To be honored in such a way. Please bury me in a Target parking lot.
Me, who have 40 years until we retire,
Dude,
I'm not going to get it.
Screw you.
I'm going to get screwed either way.
No,
you
you're
really,
not.
You really
No,
think
you're
I'm going to
not.
get Social Security someday?
I guarantee you, at the very least, you're going to get 78% of your benefits.
That's
if you
awesome. I'll get
join me- if you
$9,000 a
join
year.
me
That's great.
in college,
Yeah, I agree. It's bad. It's bad to not give our seniors more.
for our government to increase the cap, in fact, get rid of the cap, then your grandkids will get Social Security.
I would much
100% of
rather,
their
and
benefits.
again, maybe we'll just disagree, but I would much rather result to, hey, 20-year-olds, please save for your own retirement.
Why can't we do both, idiot? You can tell kids to try to save money, but the messaging should be this: the government is corrupt. The government is corrupt. The corporations are even worse. You have to save all of your coins or else they will commodify your survival and you will need to trade the coins for a living or else they will kill you. You have to stockpile coins from the moment of birth until your death in the hopes that you are not killed for not having enough coins. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourselves. Why do you value this pursuit?
Invest for your own retirement because the government is bad at...
Most people aren't paid enough to save. Bro, I am fortunate enough to make more money than I would have if I was like working in a restaurant or something, but just barely. And I'm self-employed, so it's not really that much fucking better when it all comes down at the end of the year. It's like, you know, I still got like a fucking 12 or 22% hit, whatever, depending on how much. I'm not even fucking comfortably middle class. I can't imagine making six figures. That's fucking crazy to me. How many of you make six figures? Also subscribe, but like, how do you even fucking... That would give me anxiety. I've been poor my whole life, or thereabouts. I have enough savings to coast on a few months now. Like paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. Six figures, that'd be crazy. Six figures is beautiful, though. I mean, I hope each and every one of you learn to code or whatever. But like, even if you take the capitalists' fucking like 100% word for it, there are literally not enough middle or high-paying jobs that we need in society to run efficiently and at a profit, as capitalists want, for these people to have the jobs that they're saying that they should go out and get. They literally do not exist. Instead, obviously, the workforce is filled with jobs that underpay people for their labor. That people choose they'd rather not even have those jobs or they have to get a few of them to make ends meet. It's crazy. This is it's a disgusting way to live. Nobody fucking likes it.
dealing with money.
And what happens
Don't
if they
rely on
don't?
them. What happens if what?
What happens if those 20-year-olds don't listen to you?
The same thing that happens if a 20-year-old just doesn't go and get a job because I tell them to.
No.
They're going to have a problem, but that's not my fault.
No, I got news for you. It's not your fault, but there used to be in New York City 30,000 people sleeping
No one
on
in
the
this
Bowery
room was alive before
Security.
Social Security. We've all lived under this, just like the
And it
income
has
tax.
been the most successful government program in the history of our government
Things that are
programs.
successful don't just start to die out and end up in the
It's not dying out.
It's the grab bag of money, the massive excess that was there in the early years because of the 42 to 1
No,
beneficial.
there wasn't a massive excess in 1936.
42 to 1
Dude,
is
that was
a
just
massive
because
excess.
There weren't that many people who had entered into the Social Security program.
And the
Because it was new.
fact that it
In 1970, it was 3.5 workers to 1. Now it's 2.5, but productivity has increased it. I've told you why the Social Security Trust Fund is running out. It is because of wealth disparity. Billionaires hiding and hoarding their money above the cutoff line, which is 176,000. That's the cap. If you
hiding
remove
and
the cap,
hoarding their money.
your grandkids
Billionaires aren't keeping $2 billion under their mattress. They're investing it back into
they're just putting it into into some stock market, or they're just looking around.
And what do you think a 401k or an IRA relies upon? It relies on the stock market and things like that.
Yeah, a 401k relies on the stock market, and I knew people who were retiring in 2008 when the stock market tanked, and they got screwed.
Well, that's a whole
Tough.
But
that's a whole other problem.
No,
That's a whole other problem. What if my system is, something that fails so quickly shouldn't be used? Do you think something running out of money shouldn't be used, buddy? Oh, well, that's a different system. Fuck off. It's obvious that capitalism is too volatile to satisfy social needs. At best, it's a system that you can use to have a good time gambling on stuff. At the very best, capitalism is otherwise a corrupt system that allows people to steal from others. That's it. Stock market tanked today, by the way. I pulled all my shit out. I didn't have much, but I pulled all my shit out fucking COVID era.
If you didn't save for retirement, well, then the government can just come in, swoop in, and save you from that.
Well, not swoop in. It starts on literally the day you get your Social Security.
Sure. It swoops in once you retire, right?
Nope, no swooping.
You fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
Once you can,
well, you pay
once you
into
can,
it.
Right, exactly. And so you believe this idea, basically, that government is an effective organization, which it does time and time again. If you look at history, that's proven to not be true.
I think governments can have inefficiencies, but it's pretty clear since the government exists currently, it's been an enduring force. It's been pretty stable until Trump has tried to destabilize it. Civil war. Every time we've had trouble with the union, it's been far-right people fucking it up. Isn't that crazy?
When you're hitting at retirement, you don't know. This is an insurance program. That's it. It's an insurance program, and it basically says you're insured against eating cat food when you're 65.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
And it works. It works.
No, it doesn't. You should have, well, one, you should have your own personal...
How doesn't it work?
Great question.
Doesn't it work? Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already discussed
Have we discussed it?
Details of how it is just completely failing as
wow, his brain is fucking not working at all. How doesn't it work? They ask a question and they go
program.
Like, well, how is it failing?
Because I'm not going to receive any Social Security.
No, I've already told you.
I'm not
going to rehash out that debate.
Because you're wrong.
The main
look at
issue.
The numbers. You've just been told this, and you know why you've been told it? Is because they want to raid it to give tax cuts to rich people. That's why.
So are you saying there are the Trump tax cuts were only for rich people? You're saying
No, I'm not saying they're only for rich people.
Oh, okay. Then how could
rich people benefited more from it than low-income people? And I would
And what do you mean benefited more from that? Because we already went over the percentage numbers, and we know that's not true.
They don't need the money as much, and they don't need it.
What are you talking about? These rich people are the people that are investing in smaller businesses.
Oh my God, they're investing.
These are the people that are...
They're investing. I really hope through their goodwill that I get some of Daddy Elon's bucks. Oh, please. I want to dance for a king so he gives me a suckle. Jesus fucking Christ.
Is GDP wealthy?
If we import 10 million immigrants and our GDP goes up, are we now wealthier? If the housing costs more, if CPI goes up because there's more people.
No, I understand. And inflation is under control, and we haven't pulled that money off the table.
Right, but I'm just saying that
inflation is back down because we had a problem.
The welfare
with
state
logistics.
makes us all poorer.
Yes,
it does. And you can see
it doesn't.
Across history.
If you compare,
people want to come here for economic opportunity. We
don't have economic opportunity. We just like literally don't have economic opportunity.
We don't want handouts. We want opportunity. That's why as an immigrant, that's why my family came here. We left the socialist paradise. It's garbage. The people that come here want economic opportunity. And you're stifling that. You're undermining capitalism and the free markets with your utopian vision.
There is no free market.
Well, there's not anymore.
No, there's never
But now
been
there
a free
used to be.
No.
There used to be. What was the free market?
That is what makes America the greatest. That's what makes the greatest. America is the greatest economy in the world because of the free market.
The greatest
free market capitalism is
he just wants to say the things so he could feel like he virtue signaled enough. Free market. We have amazing capitalism.
The
Most
economy
ethical and
America
moral-
had was when we had 90% tax.
That's not true. The numbers are against you.
1940, 1950, 1960, the highest top marginal
So
tax
stagflation.
rate was
So what happened in the
90%,
70s?
and we
When
had
Milton Friedman predicted stagflation in the 70s with your social welfare.
We had OPEC.
When
we had
your
an
welfare
oil
re-
shock that drove inflation way up, and that was a function of OPEC. But
Uh-oh. He's too young to know OPEC facts.
in the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, highest top marginal tax rate was 90%.
we have an
We had
industrial
wealth
revol-
inequality
we had
shrink.
post-World War
We had something
II
called the
industrial
Great Compression,
What you're-
and more
we
people
had
enjoyed.
post-World War
and
II
more
industrial
people
revolution.
enjoyed
We were
wealth
producing
than at any
more than
other
every other
time in the
country.
country.
No, it's because we were producing more than every other country. That's what creates wealth.
And we were
Production.
doing that with a 90% tax rate on the wealthiest
Which was
individuals.
less
which was beautiful.
And
90%.
when Reagan came in.
By the way, this is also the boom for unions and labor rights. You start seeing like the Ford labor unions and stuff like that, and so you have more people with more wealth, and being allowed to like have families and a boom and stuff.
We
I just
offered
can't.
$300.
The way you guys think is
Excuse me.
just insane to me. Like
In
you have
20,
the
let me
richest-
just finish this.
All right, go
In
ahead.
2021, we extended the child tax credit, which is basically a payment, $300
Social
per
welfare, so great.
social welfare.
Yes, yes.
We cut child poverty in 1 year by 45%.
Oh my God, that's so good. Child poverty in 2021 fell to 5.2%, the lowest rate on record. According to the Census Bureau measures, the child poverty rate was cut almost in half from the previous year's rate of 9.7%. The decline in child poverty was driven primarily by the expanded child tax credit included in the American Rescue Plan. Let's go!
45%, but because no Republican would join the Democrats, and Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin voted against this provision in Bill back. I'm talking 2021. From 2021 to 2022, we cut child poverty in this country by 45%. Look it up.
I feel like when I look
And
at it,
I guarantee you, I will give you my phone number. You call me, and if I was wrong.
All right, we'll call.
I'll do it off camera. And you will see that we cut child poverty in a year by 45%.
I'll look at
And he won't care, and then he'll be like, "Well, those I shouldn't have to pay for poor kids." That guy got fucking destroyed too. I know he thought he said something because he was trying to talk fast. Gish galloping isn't winning.
Tax cuts for the rich. I think his idea of tariffs on countries in the way that he's talking about will make people poorer. I think all of the work that they're doing in terms of attacking the government agencies will make people poorer because, when you get agencies that are supposed to protect us from corporate interests, they will externalize their costs, those corporations, instead of actually assuming themselves. So their profits are made on the backs of all of us, whether it's our health, our protection from consumer rights, worker rights. His anti-union policies will make us poorer.
So real quick, I'm going to touch on one of the things that you said. Now, there was a lot to unpack there, but
There's
we'll
a lot of
start-
policies that
we'll
will
start
make
at the
you
very
poor.
beginning. You talked
There's a lot of policies that will make you poor. Yeah.
about taxes. Let's talk about, in his first term, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. There are a couple things in that specific policy that actually do benefit the middle class and the lower class more than the top 1%. So you mentioned taxes, right? But in that, from the IRS data that came out, the middle class and lower class got affected. I think they ended up saving like 3 to 4% on their taxes, on their tax cuts, whereas the billionaires only saved 2%. So if we're talking an actual
only 2% of $1 billion each. Wow, only two. They should have gotten fucking 0% of savings. They should have had to pay more. What the fuck? Okay, buddy, what's 3% of $1,000? What's 2% of $1 billion? Shut up.
Dollar amount, sure, the billionaires save more, but they also make a lot more, right? Also, the billionaires don't really care about an extra grand or two. In that specific policy, the child tax credit doubled.
That's not an extra grand or two. 2% of $1 billion is $2 million. A grand or two. More money than you'll make in years.
From $1,000 per household to $2,000.
Maybe ever.
No billionaire cares about an extra grand in their pocket, but I can guarantee you the working class does.
20 million, my bad.
So how would you rebuttal that?
I would say in terms.
You're right.
So the taxes themselves, well, the policies that Trump wants to pursue this time are to expand those taxes for wealthy folks. And over time, what starts to happen is you have this wealth disparity, and as the wealth disparity increases, it becomes harder for working people essentially to keep up. Things become more expensive. You get inflationary pressures when you have people with more money. We have more and more billionaires than we did 4 years ago. And a large part of that was obviously COVID, but a large part of it is also money starts to accelerate. Once you, like you say, when a millionaire gets a tax cut for a couple of grand or 60 grand or $500,000 at the end of the day, they end up investing that and it ends up growing because they're not out there working for their money. Their money is just is doing all the work.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think we can agree with you on that when it comes to, billionaires and millionaires and there being a wealth gap in our country, right? I don't think Republicans or liberals would disagree on that, but I think where we will fundamentally disagree is under Trump, right, the stats show that take-home pay was higher for the middle class and the lower class. Inflation was down. They weren't paying as much on taxes.
Inflation was down, but wage growth was actually greater during the Biden administration.
Tough.
Well, that's because
because
COVID, when a lot of people lost jobs,
their wage growth went up.
No. I mean, I'm talking in percentage comparison between those 4 years and these past 4 years. Wage growth grew not from as a baseline on 2020, but I'm talking as a baseline from 2016.
Interesting. Okay. Well, then.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Donald Trump fucking lost to Joe Biden on an economy.
Another point that I want to talk on with you real quick is you talked about slashing government agencies, for instance, the Department of Government Efficiency. I'm sure you've heard about that a lot in the news.
That's not a government agency. That's just some committee.
It actually an executive order was signed to make DOJ an official government agency as of less than a week ago. So yeah, It is an official government agency.
I don't even know if that's fucking true at this point. But here's the thing. If it is a government agency, that puts your boy in hot water. So I'm fine with that. I don't mind.
So obviously we're talking about money.
Executive orders can't create an agency? No way.
We want people to be able.
DOJ is not a full government agency. President Trump reorganizing an existing group within the executive office of the president to form DOJ, which has team members working with agency heads.
To afford a house, we want them to be able to afford to raise a family, right? As a young man myself, I want to be able to grow up in America and be able to afford food one day, right? I mean, I can now, but continue that. And at the way things are going, it's unsustainable for people on the left, people on the right, people in the middle. So we have to come to a common ground on how to fix that. What's unsustainable? The fact that cost of living is increasing year after year.
What does DOJ do to inhibit cost of living?
Yeah, absolutely. So what DOJ is going to do, the Department of Government Efficiency, is slash a lot of the federal spending, right? So what happens when the feds...
What spending is going to get cut?
So I'm getting there. 1 second, sir. So what's going to happen is the Department of Government Efficiency is going to slash a lot of federal spending. What happens is the government, Republicans, Democrats alike, spend a bunch of money that, excuse my language, but it's nonsense, right? They spend it out here, they spend it out there.
Be more specific. Here or there. Are you talking about cutting defense? Because they're not going to cut defense.
Well, for example,
wait a second.
Well, no. Let me finish. Okay. $175 billion to Ukraine, first and foremost. That was a bunch of nonsense. So we're going to talk about that, but we also have a bunch of other things in the Defense Department, as well as a bunch of DEI departments.
Well, they're not touching, first of all, there are no DEI departments.
That's completely false.
Listen. Defense spending is not going to be touched by DOJ.
Ron.
And when you talk about the government, what's the biggest expenditure government has?
Our military and Social Security are our top two.
And Medicare and Medicaid, right? Now, they're not going to touch the military. Are they going to cut Social Security?
You're asking me like I'm part of DOJ.
No. Well, you're telling me that DOJ is going to help everybody here. And I'm telling you, if they cut Social Security, everybody in here is going to get hit. Because these folks are going to have to pay for their parents because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. So tell me what they're going to cut that's going to make it easier for Americans.
I already did.
What?
I told you the $175 billion that we've sent to Ukraine. We're no longer...
$175 billion that has already been gone isn't something that we're projected to spend again. What are you talking about? Also, we don't just give them like money. We give them $175 billion in military goods that we aren't using, like, stuff. So it's essentially like getting rid of stock we don't need. This is a good thing. Can we? No, Jubilee sucks, dude. God, this is stupid. I don't want to talk to the same fucking 3 people over and over.
Why did we see a higher increase in the top 1% paying as part of...
They ended this conversation because we didn't want to fucking hear it anymore.
Federal income revenue under TCJA.
Why did we see a higher increase in the...
So under TCJA, it was passed 2017. It was effective 2018. 2018 and onward, we actually saw the top 1% pay more. They had more of the federal income tax burden. They paid 45% as opposed to Obama. During Obama's tax plan, they only paid about 40 to 42% of the federal income tax.
Because they got more money.
Right.
Right, they made more money.
Okay, so they got more money.
They got richer.
But why are they paying... And why did they get richer? So this goes on inflation that...
So why did they get richer? Yeah, that sounds like, whoops, walked into what Sam was saying.
I mean, that's my point, is the rich are getting richer.
Trump is going to do great things with oil and let us drill.
He's gonna do great things. All we gotta do is say it.
What that actually does for the economy.
Like I say, we are producing more oil in this country than any country in the history of the world.
What executive order did Biden just sign to have to do with offshore drilling in the East Coast?
He stopped it.
Yeah. Really dumb idea. We're about to begin a new...
Well, so you want to go beyond even the record-breaking thing?
Yes, I want to become energy independent.
Climate?
And that lowers inflation.
We're going to sell this oil.
Better.
We don't use the oil. We sell it. We sell
getting
it.
money in the pockets of American citizens.
American citizens? Oil executives? You don't see a nickel of that shit. What are you talking about? At best, the trickle down of the guys who work on the rigs that they're forced to pay, and who those corporations would pay less if they could.
We sell it. Well, how is that oil getting to the pocket of American citizens?
Because when you lower the prices of oil, that lowers the prices of all products.
I understand that the inflationary prices effect of energy. But the fact of the matter is, they're just going to sell it.
Yeah, we're going to
sell it.
Yeah, so we're going to.
You want to produce even more oil than we are now.
Yes.
And you don't think climate change is going to impact? No. You don't believe in climate change?
Well, that's a whole nother discussion, but no.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the same discussion.
Yeah, no, I believe that climate change is, there's obviously an element of climate change that is partially true.
Obviously, it's partially true, but if allow my cognitive dissonance to accurately describe the reality that we live in, I will have to admit that I might be wrong about other aspects of my ideology that I stake to the same people who say climate change isn't real at all. And so I'm really going to have to reassess myself if I even let one domino fall. And that's just really painful. Anyway, I have a square head.
But lowering...
So that's why I sound like this. When you have a square head, it's really hard to think straight, you know? If you have a round head... your thoughts can bounce around in a good way, but if you have a square head, they bounce really in straight lines, and it can lead to brain fog. It's true. It's science. Look it up.
Which part of it?
Raising man-made raising temperatures by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius in the next 150 years isn't necessarily a detriment to society. Human beings
First of all, they're going faster than that, and second of all, that's a detriment to society.
Think so?
No, human beings are very good at innovation, and we can build seawalls, and we can create carbon technology.
What kind of seawall are you going to build for Miami? What are you going to do about when we get?
I'm talking about the economy right now. Which, if we get back on topic,
so the economy of Miami will do what underwater?
All right, guys. Sorry, time's up. I let you go
no problem.
longer.
We have another 20-minute timer. Sam will now choose a conservative to debate for 10 minutes on a claim of their choosing. Oh, good. So he gets to choose some people he hasn't talked to, hopefully?
I choose Ben because he let me lecture him about Social Security.
Oh. No, Sam, no! We had the opportunity for variety, and you gave us another Whiteman.
My claim is that abortion is immoral and should not be legal.
Yeah, I disagree largely because I think the primary rights that we have under a society should belong to the person, and I don't believe a fetus is a person.
Okay. Okay, so that's very interesting.
That's very interesting that you don't believe a fetus is a person. Okay.
You don't believe the fetus is a person. Correct. When do you think that it gains personhood, in your opinion? Would you agree it's a human life, at least?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, yes, I think that's, I mean, largely, I think that claim is largely like, it's not relevant to the way that I think about it.
Yeah, at best you're trying to be emotional about it or something. Like, I don't care.
I think about it in terms of personhood. I mean, I think like, life exists all around us. And
not human, I mean, human life, but not like, there's
right.
not human life in a tree, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay. So it's human life.
It's human life.
But it's not a person?
It's not a person.
At which point does it gain personhood and gain the value of being a human?
Well, I think it becomes a person when it's born.
Yeah. Why? So 5 seconds prior, it's not born yet, not person. 5 seconds after exits the birth canal, person. Is there a magical quality to the birth canal? What is that?
The person becomes separate from the host that has been that it's been growing inside.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good argument.
On some level, there's a certain amount of like arbitrariness as to when we give rights. Like one could say, like, do you say it's at conception?
Sure, yeah.
So IVF, in other words, would have to be illegal under your principle because.
I mean, I'm not sure that I would agree with IVF in that case. It really depends on the particulars in that case. But I believe.
Well, what do you mean the particulars?
Well, so for instance, at conception, you would still be a human life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the fertilized egg attaches
so
to the wall.
Is it human life for you or what?
He literally backed off his own shit. He was like, well, it is. Yeah, it is. It's a human life at conception. Well, unless it's a fertilized egg attached to a uterine wall, which is exactly what conception is, idiot.
Human life, yeah.
Okay, so human life should be protected.
Yes.
Okay, so IVF.
Yeah, I would say that.
So IVF should be illegal under your rubric.
No. So they're human lives, correct?
The IVF is when the egg and the sperm in that and then they're supplanted.
Yes.
Is it when is it human life?
I think Sam's taking for granted that this guy doesn't know what IVF is. Like Sam thinks this guy knows what IVF is. Like he doesn't realize that IVF requires multiple fertilized eggs and rounds of testing, and then they sort of save some. And this guy thinks that only at the point they only conceive, they take an egg and they take a sperm one time and do it and then put it in and then that's it and there's nothing else going on.
As soon as it has unique human DNA, that's a human life.
Okay, so
it's a new human, correct?
Now in the IVF process, there's stuff that gets thrown out.
Yes,
you would consider that.
Yeah,
murder.
I'm not even defending IVF or going against it. I'm specifically saying abortion. That was my claim, right? I'm
what
not going to argue IVF.
But isn't that abortion under your principle?
I would say if you get rid of human life after conception.
What's conception?
I don't think that's moral. I'm not going to argue the IVF particulars because that's not what my claim was, right?
When we're talking about laws, right? Because you want to outlaw abortion.
Yes,
have to.
Okay. When we're talking about laws, it's not just morality when we form public policy around and create laws.
Not just, but it should be moral, correct?
Well, I mean, I think your definition of what constitutes moral and mine are different.
I think they should be ethical.
For instance, I would prefer, in a perfect world, not to have abortion on demand until, up until birth, right?
Sure.
In a perfect world. However, we know in practice that when you start to restrict things, like say, only in the threat of life to the woman, let's say, that's the only way we're going to allow abortions, right? When you start to have these exceptions,
people die.
They're in practice, they don't work. Because when your life is in jeopardy and you come into a hospital, the doctor doesn't see a bulb that shows up above you and say, your life is in jeopardy. It's always a subjective assessment. And what does life in jeopardy, hold on, what does life in jeopardy mean? Does it mean a 30% chance of death? Does it mean a 50%, a 70%, or a 20%? That's why we now have women who are dying. Because doctors are afraid to perform abortions on them. That's true.
Are you referencing just because some doctors misread plain text doesn't mean that that it's when all of a sudden that life is less valuable?
No, dude, they're having to airlift people out. Idaho, for instance, is telling people to fucking leave.
Valuable.
No. It means that you are subjecting the woman to more risk, and it's impossible. These exceptions are all, they're canards.
No,
when you oppose a law, it is not just about morality, it's in practice.
Sure,
in practice,
I understand that.
You cannot do this without sacrificing women's lives because
what about
of your
the unborn
morality.
children, though? Because let's go back to your
Unborn children
So let's say
are not persons,
you have a 9-month.
and the mother has more rights, in my mind, than the unborn child.
Yeah, that's
fucking true.
I'm glad I was here. It was interesting. I know my questions were more sort of policy oriented, I think, than maybe folks anticipated here, and I was a little bit surprised that there wasn't many people here who could address the policies. They were.
I am sorry that Sam thought that there was going to be higher quality people here.
Very, very sure of themselves as to why they voted for Trump, but a lot of it was sort of
vague,
not material in any way.
So there was stuff that conservatives were saying today that I fundamentally disagreed with my entire heart, but at the end of the day, we're still part of the conservative movement. So
you're dumb as fuck, man. You're so fucking stupid. This is the type of guy who comes to me in 5 years and goes, "Hey man, you really helped me get out of the chud sphere. I was kind of stupid for a while." A lot of squareheads.
I think there are people that I disagreed with, there are people that I completely did agree with, but the cool thing about this new conservative movement and the people here today is it's people from all different walks of life sharing their perspective.
Diversity? The cool thing about this is how diverse it is.
Teach me, Daddy!
Sam did a great job. Everybody else there was a fucking idiot, though. What a shame. I sure would like to live in a place that had smart folks in it.